One of the major side effects for MDD is suicidal ideation. The synthetic drugs happen not to be effective on that side to lower the suicidal ideation, but our drug has not shown suicidal ideation in the patients.
So I was actually wondering if the medical community is skeptic of those results. Welcome to Biotech Orbit, where we explore the biotech landscape. I'm your host, Victor Lee. Today's guest is Uttam Patil, CEO of ABVC BioPharma. ABVC BioPharma is developing botanical-based therapies for mental health and oncology, including a lead candidate in major depressive disorder that's preparing for a phase 3 clinical trial. This episode is about the challenges and promise of botanical drugs and what it takes to bring them through the regulatory system toward commercialization. This podcast is brought to you by Med Productions, a science animation studio where we create animations that speak to your audience. Whether they're science professionals, investors, patients, or the general public. Find out more at medproductions.media. Uttam, we have known each other for 1 decade, right? Even more.
More than a decade.
And what I remember is that during your PhD, you were doing small molecules medicines?
Yeah, we had projects regarding medicinal chemistry. So we are doing synthetic molecules that could have potential drug properties.
But now you completely changed. You're doing botanical drugs.
Yeah. Okay. Towards botanical drug is not just all of a sudden. Thing is, we know botanical drugs even before the synthetic drugs existed. So in the Indian culture, we call it as Ayurveda. And I've been very close to that. So I knew about Ayurveda even before I thought of doing a PhD. And when I started thinking to move into industry, and I got a chance to work on botanical drug, that was something like I could relate to my even childhood memories.
What's a botanical drug?
Okay, botanical drugs are basically compounds that are extracted from plants.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any animal extract in it. So they are purely organic compounds, but not produced in a lab. They are just extracted from either from the plant, like any part of the plant.
For Western medicine, for the FDA, would that be considered a botanical drug?
Yeah. So anything that is extracted from plant base is considered as a botanical drug. And they have a different set of criteria for these drugs to be eligible to be marketed or commercialized. But again, every drug has to go through the clinical trial process, starting from the preclinical to the post-clinical studies, entering into human trials, and then collecting enough data to convince FDA, letting them know that this has potential to get commercialized. And there are several criteria that you need to meet.
In 2021, the medicine market for botanical drugs was $165 billion, and it will double by 2029.
Yeah.
Why do you think we're seeing this kind of growth?
So it's more easy to synthesize a drug in the lab compared to extracting and purifying. But now that there are technological advances, we see the ease in doing the extraction and purification.
That's actually something that I wanted to ask you later on, but I think I can ask it right now. And it was, how do you ensure the consistency from batch to batch?
Okay, that's actually a very nice question regarding the botanical drugs, because that's something FDA really likes to know.
Yeah.
The first thing is, we have the botanical drug, we have completed the phase 2 clinical trial for MDD, and now we are working on to enter into phase 3 because we are not producing it in the lab. So we don't have a manufacturing unit. Basically, we are extracting it from the plant. So we are working on a source to supply the raw material. We do the extraction, then we do the purification, and it may or may not be done in the same facility. So there can be alteration in the process that can also hamper the purity of the product, and then at the end you will be formulating it into a capsule. So what FDA considers is that once you enter into phase 3, the patient pool is going to be very big. Usually the patient pool increases by 10 folds. So in phase 2 we had almost 200 patients, So we could at least go somewhere around 1,000 patients or more in our phase 3 clinical trial. So it's not easy to manage these many patients in a small area. So you will be ending up going for a multi-central and multinational clinical trial when you go for the phase 3 clinical trial. So you need to have a supply chain that can provide the your drug in the same purity that goes from one side to other side, and that's how this question arises, like how the company is going to maintain this thing.
Have you solved it already?
So that's one reason we started working on to find out farmers who are growing this particular crop. We try to understand what crop, what conditions are needed for this crop. So now the technical advances gives you ability to understand the DNA of the plant that you are working on. So it becomes easy that you take the DNA of the same crop and then plant it elsewhere, maintaining the same conditions, and then you can grow it on a bigger scale.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so that's how we ended up buying agricultural land here in Taiwan. We are also looking for some agricultural land in US at this point. The idea is that the agricultural land in Taiwan will support the supply chain for the Asian region, and in US for the US region, US and probably Europe.
And I think there's one more issue that I could foresee that the FDA would ask information, and that's that botanical drugs have a lot of chemicals, right? It's an extract.
Is a mixture. Yeah.
Right. So the drug has several mechanistic pathways. How are you handling that?
That's like another important question regarding the scientific part, or basically the scientific difference between a synthetic drug and a botanical drug. For synthetic drug, because they are single molecule, highly pure, it becomes easy to do the PK and PD study. You can also work on the mechanistic study, like how the drug is going to affect in your body. When it comes for botanical drugs, because they are mixture, the active component may or may not be the highest concentration in the mixture. So it becomes really difficult to find out biomarkers and work out the mechanistic part. But for our drugs, we did an assay study, and we know what part of the protein or which particular protein our compound can act upon. So for the psychiatric disorder that we are working on for MDD and ADHD, that drug works well on norepinephrine.
And how has the medical community responded to your work?
Okay, so we usually have to publish the data once every stage of the phase trial is completed. We completed the phase 1, that's basically the safety data that we collected in phase 1, and then in phase 2 we did the efficacy study. We did publish those those data online. When we present this data, we usually compare it against the marketed drug that is used as an antidepressant. The plus point of our drug is that the current marketed drugs are not administered as a single drug, but as a combination of 2 or 3 drugs. Our drug is a single formulation, I would say. Is a multi-component drug, but comes in one single formulation in one capsule. Another thing is that for antidepressant, they have a lot of side effects. On the synthetic drugs, they do have a lot of side effects. One of the major side effects for MDD is suicidal ideation. The synthetic drugs happen not to be effective on that side, to lower the suicidal ideation, but our drug has not shown suicidal ideation in the patients.
So I was actually wondering if the medical community is skeptic of those results.
Yeah, thing is, like, they would like to see more results, like
Phase
having
3.
phase 3. Yeah, that's why you end up doing the phase 3, because you the patient pool will be like a different ethnic patient pool also. The food habits, the living habits are different of different people. So when we enter into a multi-central, multi-cultural clinical trial, you get a variety of data, and then you have to do the simulation to understand how your drug has been effective in what conditions. So that way you can really come up with a good analysis to explain that your drug has been much better compared to the other drugs so far. But as long as the phase 2 clinical data is concerned, our patients have not shown any sign of addiction or suicidal ideation, which is a big plus for us.
I think this is the right time to start talking about your pipeline. So how does your pipeline looks?
Okay, so ABVC is a biotech company, more precisely a biopharma company working on botanical drugs. Not that we are not interested in small molecules, but at this point we are more focused on the botanical drugs, and we have two major class of drugs. One is on the CNS side, that's for antidepressant.
The central nervous system, yes.
Yeah, so for MDD and ADHD.
Major
Depressive disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Another one we have is for oncology. So
cancer.
Yeah, so the CNS drug is basically extracted from a plant root, and the one for oncology is extracted from a mushroom that is found in Japan and northern Canada.
You already talked a bit about the ABV 1504, right, for depression. What about the mushroom?
That's for the oncology, but it's not a drug. It's basically going to be a combination therapy.
Okay.
So combination therapy is like you have a primary drug, and then you give something as a supplement to that with that drug, either to reduce the side effects or increase the efficacy of that drug. So what we have is a mushroom extract. That extract is basically polysaccharides.
Okay.
And those polysaccharides are known to show. They are known to reduce the side effects of chemotherapy. There has been animal study on those polysaccharides already. We are taking into account for those same properties that are already published in literature. Two clinical trials were already done at MSKCC in US. They did the safety profile of this particular drug in combination with chemotherapy on MDS and breast cancer patient.
Oh, is it any type of chemotherapy, or is there a specific drug?
No, it can work with any type of chemotherapy. ABVC has got 4 INDs approved, one for MDS, one for TNBC, for pancreatic cancer and non-small cell lung cancer. So the idea is to start working on non-small cell lung cancer. To be on the cost-effective side, we are considering to do one phase one trial first. So we do the safety profile study, and then we apply the same safety profile study for the other 3 INDs. That way we can push all our 4 INDs into phase 2 clinical trial.
And I'm interested about the phase 3 clinical trials, because you must be very close to entering one, right?
Yeah, we are very close to entering one for MDD, that's ABV 1504.
What needs to happen before before you are able to enter?
Okay, so there's one step, we are one step behind, I would say. Like you need to complete the end of phase 2 meeting. End of phase 2 meeting is the critical part where you have to submit the protocol for the phase 3 clinical trial, and you have to convince FDA why they should consider your product to move into phase 3. We do have a professor from MIT who is going to be our advisor, and also the key person to communicate between FDA and the company. So we are confident that we would pass the end of phase 2 meeting for that. It all depends on how much funds we can raise, because for phase 3 it's going to be very costly. So there could be a possibility that we can also end up doing an out licensing, or if we get enough fund, then we can consider to do the phase 3 by ourselves also.
Okay. I think you touched a little bit on this topic, but what's your commercialization strategy once products get regulatory approval?
Even before that, we have like different pathways to do this. One is particularly that we are keeping China as a separate market, and separate market from rest of the world. The reason behind this is that for China, they have their own set of regulations to follow. They don't really accept US FDA's approvals. So you have to do those clinical trials starting from scratch in mainland China itself. everything has to be China specific in that way. So what we are deciding is to do the out licensing to the China market separately, and then for the rest of the world, since most of the countries they accept US FDA's approval, but they do have their own certain set of regulations to follow, and then the idea would be like, if we are not doing the phase 3 clinical trial by ourselves and we end up doing out licensing, then we would end up getting royalties and some licensing fees on that. So the big pharma would take care of the commercialization also in all the regions.
Botanical drugs take a long time to develop, right?
Usually every drug will take a long time, not specifically for the botanical drugs. Botanical drugs, maybe the major factor that can affect is about the supply of the raw material and purification and extraction process.
All right. This is just something that I was curious about in my follow-up question, which was, what are the expectations from investors for this timing?
So an investor would be more than happy to know when the drug is going to get commercialized. So shorter the time, more happier is the investor. For botanical drug, it would take a little longer compared to a synthetic drug, typically based on the supply chain for your drug. But there's also like the risk factor is equally comparable when it comes for the risk factor, because even the synthetic drugs, you cannot assure whether they will pass the phase 3 clinical trial or not. For one particular drug to get commercialized, starting from preclinical to phase 3 and application of the NDA, it usually takes around 7 to 9 years.
Yeah.
So should be the same time period for a botanical drug also, considering that we have a very good supply chain for our drug. But it also depends on the patent life. So for our drugs, the patents are valid until 2041. So we have got enough time now.
Okay. And I was thinking, regarding commercialization, I understand that different countries will have very different perspectives of what a traditional medicine is. How are you going to navigate this in your global expansion?
So as long as we are able to provide evidence about the well tolerance of our drug and showing less side effects compared to the synthetic drugs basically, then I think we stand a very good chance to convince each and every country to buy our product.
Do you think that traditional medicine will truly be integrated into Western medicine?
Yeah, as of now, we can say that the paths are parallel for a synthetic drug as well as a botanical drug. But there could be, in future, there's a good chance that the paths will converge, and then there will be a lot of combination therapies under study, which can give you a better synergistic effect on one particular disorder or a disease. And then I think we should be hopeful about having some good results coming up from the botanical drug sides also.
Since taking on the role of CEO at ABVC, what's the biggest learning moment you've had?
Yeah, there are quite a few, but I would really speak about the non-compliance that the company had when I joined as the CEO. We had a deficiency for the bid price at NASDAQ, and me and our team, we worked hard to get the compliance done. That's where I had the impetus from the board of directors and the advisory team that we have at ABVC, and that was quite a tough challenge that we overcome, and I learned how a public company can stay afloat at NASDAQ. So that's something I really appreciate, the support that I got from the board of directors and the advisory team.
How do you see ABVC growing in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, we did find 3 good partners to work with ABVC. So we are looking forward to explore these partnerships in a way that can help us broaden our portfolio and also bring in some revenue for the company. Initially, maybe through the licensing deal that we have accomplished, and eventually when the product gets commercialized, so that can add more revenue to ABVC. We are also looking forward to bring in new product lines through these partners, as well as ABVC would bring in some new pipelines into our own portfolio. That could be the future you would see in next 5 to probably 7 years from now. These partnerships may benefit the company directly or indirectly, but you can definitely see the effect on the company's future.
Is there any question that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
There are a lot, but even I have limitations to answer each and every question. So,
If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring in even more voices and insights from across the biotech world. Now, rapid fire questions are coming.
okay,
Are you ready?
Bring it on.
What's a favorite hobby outside of work?
Swimming or going swimming with my puppy.
Okay.
There's a swimming pool for puppies,
I
and
guess
you
he
can
loves
swim
it.
with them.
Dodo loves it, right?
Dodo loves it. Dodo loves it.
I can imagine that. Best advice you've ever received?
Listen to your wife.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the king of Maratha Empire.
If AI could do any part of your job, what would that be?
Attend investor roadshows on my behalf.
If you could have any superpower for one day, what would that be?
Get my product commercialized tomorrow.
Favorite way to relax after a long day?
Sleep. I enjoy sleeping.
Thanks a lot for coming, Uttam.
Thanks for having me. It was a nice chat.